All right, you'll have to forgive me because my voice and stuff is not feeling great. I got some sort of crud. So I want to make a quick video. Why would you consider training with blanks? There's a couple different reasons why you might consider that. One of which is a generally low barrier to entry in the form of cost. So if you compare blank firing to other options, say paintball or airsoft, getting a blank firing adapter and some blanks is cheaper than buying a paintball gun or buying an airsoft gun. However, uh, blanks themselves are fairly expensive, so over time, if that's something you want to continue to do, eventually it becomes more expensive as your consumable costs go up. The consumables will be blanks versus paintballs or airsoft BBs. Another reason you might consider blank firing, training with blanks, is you want to train with people, and you you want to train with people safely. And that's one of the really excellent things with blank firing training is you can go with a group of people and you have blank firing adapters on the muzzles, and that's going to prevent anybody from getting hurt accidentally if somebody in your group is not great on gun safety. And that can also, you can suss out those people and then conduct remedial training as necessary. You can also get a realistic, if you want to train people to function or operate in a particular environment and be used to what those environments sound like, blanks can get you a fairly realistic um, presentation of sound and tempo. And you can also make sure that your people complete a full iteration of training. So let's say you're doing paintball training, you want to do, say, 5 cycles of a particular training, um, something that you're focusing on. And you want everybody in your group to go through 5 cycles of being presented this training and function correctly in the training. And if one of your people gets shot out, uh, all 5 times within that training event, then did they get the full value from 5 cycles of training? Maybe they get shot out at the beginning of every event, and then they lose out on the full um, iteration of training, all 5 iterations of the training. And so it's a way to keep your full group of people in a iteration of training and going through all the movements and executing everything and practicing every aspect within your training, within your training program. So then, so those are some considerations if those are important to you. Then consider blank firing if those are not important to you, or if you're training something different. Then yeah, look for other tools to get at other elements that you're trying to train, other aspects that you're trying to train. Next up, understand that you have basically, for a 5.56 blanks, you have 2 different types of blanks. You have the M200 5.56 blanks and the M200A1 5.56 blanks. And the M200A1s are longer. They're supposed to be for a saw or a squad automatic weapon. Because it's an open bolt weapon, you have more issues with needing a full length cartridge geometry to not get jammed up in the internals. And with something like an AR-15, you can generally run the shorter blanks and the M200 blanks, and things work and function. The M200A1s may be a better option for other training with other 5.56 weapons. If you get your M200s and they don't function well, you might maybe, depending on your root cause of your malfunctions, you may look to get the M200s M200A1s, the full lengths there, and see if that improves your function. So then on the end of a rifle, if you're running blanks, you're going to have a BFA or a BFD. So that would be a blank firing adapter or a blank firing device. The biggest issues that I've encountered with them that affects reliability is a poor seal between the arm of the BFA that touches the crown of your muzzle and the crown of your muzzle. And so issues can come up if you don't have that tight enough, if you and if you have a lot of carbon buildup on the crown of your muzzle and you're not able to get that seated down correctly. So I clean the crown of the muzzle first, then tighten down the blank firing adapter. Tighten it down absolutely as much as you can using your hand. Do not use any tools in the tightening of that, but you do want that as hand tight as possible. And if you do it right, you may need a tool to untighten it, but you do not want to use any tools to tighten the BFA. You don't want any gas getting out. You also don't want the BFA getting loose over time. So that is also another issue is as you're shooting the BFA, you may loosen your BFA. And so what I'll do is put some blue Loctite on the threads, blue only, Loctite on the threads of the BFA, and then screw that down so that it is less likely to come loose and come undone. And especially with that strategy, you will need tools to untighten, to loosen the BFA. Next up, keep in mind that there's going to be yellow, for an AR-15, it's going to be yellow BFAs and red BFAs. And the red ones are for 20-inch barrel rifle length systems. The yellow ones are for 14.5-inch carbine length systems. And the yellow ones will work with mid-length systems. Different feeding issues that you can have may come you could have different causes from feeding issues. Either the BFA may have come loose and you need to retighten it, or you may have a non-standard strength spring in your buffer tube, or you may have a non-standard weight buffer, and those things can cause issues. The other thing is looking at those, you're going to notice that the M200 blanks needed to be seated all the way to the back of the magazine. And you're going to have space in the front. So you can see that space in the front of the magazine. And if the blanks are getting jammed up and getting staggered inside the magazine, that could also cause feeding issues. So you want to make sure that you have loaded them correctly, and you want to make sure that your springs and your buffers all work with your blanks. And you may need to do some switching out, especially if you shoot suppressed a lot. And you also want to make sure that you have the correct BFA for your gas system, and you want to make sure that you have excellent contact between the crown of your muzzle and the plunger arm, I don't know a better word for that, of the BFA, and you want to make sure that the BFA is not getting shot loose. Now, lastly, let's talk briefly about hearing safety on BFAs. And so some people will say blanks are hearing safe. I'm going to argue that, frankly, no, they're not, especially not when fired in volume. So if you are shooting a lot of blanks, or if you are around people shooting lots of blanks, that hearing damage is cumulative. And so hearing maybe one blank go off that may be an impulse noise that maybe is below your OSHA 140 decibel standard safety threshold, but hearing hundreds or even thousands of blanks going off all within a compressed time period, is definitely going to result in hearing damage. And I have Surefire earplugs, and I found out Safariland makes earplugs, and these are earplugs that allow you to. They're not like a massive reduction in decibels. They're like, you could check the manufacturers. There should be around 10, 11, 12, 13 decibels of sound reduction, and that seems to get blanks down to a hearing safe level. And my recommendation on earplugs is to, especially if you're going to go this route of like the Safarilands and the Surefires, is get them both, because neither one, they're not expensive. So you buy them both for about $30 total. And then my recommendation is to start finding out which one fits your ears better, which one has a better seal. And then you can basically hear people well enough during training, while also getting some noise protection from blanks going off around you. I would not necessarily recommend this strategy for these earplugs for full power rifle rounds or pistols going off. The sound there is definitely going to be over your 140 decibels. And I would recommend a different set of earplugs, a full protection earplug for those training situations. So I'm going to stop there. Let me know if there are questions or comments. Let me know your own experiences, and you have a great day. Bye.